is the world's largest fast food restaurant chain. Serving over 69 million customers daily in over 100 countries. From city centers to distant rural areas, escaping their famous golden arches is difficult. But what if I told you McDonald's is not a food company, but something completely different? And because of that, two of the most powerful unions in Europe and America started massive investigations against McDonald's company. But to make sense of all this, we have to go back in time to where it all started. McDonald's story began way back in 1940, but it wasn't until 1955 that it truly became the global sensation we recognize today. Believe it or not, this fast food giant had pretty humble beginnings. The McDonald brothers, Richard and Maurice, were the sons of Irish immigrants, and they got their start in the restaurant business back in 1940 with a small drive-in eatery in San Bernardino, California. But just a few years later, they decided to go bigger and opened the very first McDonald's restaurant. By 1953, the McDonald brothers had hit on a winning formula. They revolutionized the fast food industry with their assembly line approach to burger making, focusing on efficiency and affordability. Their new streamlined McDonald's model wasn't about offering a vast menu. Instead, it was all about simplicity. This allowed them to cut down their offerings to just the essentials: burgers, fries, drinks, and pies. To speed things up, McDonald's ditched the traditional need for waiters and introduced a self-service system. Burgers were pre-cooked and kept under heat lamps, so customers could get their food almost instantly, ready to go in an instant. That meant they could get away with selling a basic burger for just 15 cents, half the price of their competition. As word spread and customers swarmed their restaurants, the brothers saw a massive opportunity to expand. They sold 14 franchises, with 10 of them turning into fully operating McDonald's locations, not counting their flagship spot in San Bernardino. The Golden Arches were on the rise. But one of the major driving forces behind McDonald's meteoric rise is its franchise model, and we have Ray Kroc to thank for that. Kroc, who initially came on board as a milkshake machine salesman, quickly recognized the potential of McDonald's in the late 1950s. In his mind, McDonald's could become an empire with franchisees throughout the United States. But when Kroc proposed this to the McDonald brothers, they were skeptical. After all, their business in San Bernardino was doing so well, and there were already plans for new locations. Thankfully though, Kroc was not easily discouraged, and he eventually persuaded them by offering to manage it himself. The new business signed leases and obtained mortgages for both land and buildings, passing these costs on to the franchisees at a 20 to 40% markup and a decreased initial deposit of $950. Franchisees were also in charge of insurance and taxes, providing a consistent profit for the corporation as long as the restaurant was in operation. The financial strategy was clever since it allowed McDonald's to generate royalty payments from franchisees, collect rent, and continue to add real estate assets to its portfolio. After switching to the model in 1958, McDonald's opened 68 new stores in a single year. Fast forward to today, and more than 90% of McDonald's restaurants around the globe are independently owned by franchisees. This strategy allows McDonald's to expand rapidly without sinking tons of money into new locations, while also leveraging the local expertise of its franchise operators. It's a win-win. Franchisees get to run their own businesses, and McDonald's keeps growing without taking on hefty operational costs. Rather than raking in massive royalties or selling cooking equipment to its franchisees, McDonald's generates a significant portion of its revenue through its property dealings. By acquiring prime locations and leasing them to franchisees, often at hefty markups, McDonald's has figured out how to tap into a lucrative revenue stream. The average rent per McDonald's franchise amounts to about 22% of the franchisee's average gross profits each year, which quickly adds up given the company's massive footprint of over 40,000 locations in more than 100 countries. With more than $40 billion in real estate assets and annual profits hovering in the billions as well, McDonald's is raking in serious cash from its real estate ventures. While the number of franchisee-operated locations continues to rise, the number of company-owned stores has seen a slight decline over the past decade. From the bustling streets of Times Square in New York City to the iconic Red Square in Moscow, McDonald's has strategically acquired prime real estate worldwide. Although franchisees pay a percentage of their food sales to McDonald's, a much larger portion of the corporation's revenue stems from the rents it collects on its properties. After all, rent in Times Square can be astronomical, but you can still grab a Big Mac for a reasonable price. In addition to rental income, McD takes a royalty cut from franchise sales, but the real goldmine lies in the leases of franchisee-operated restaurants. The 2016 documentary, The Founder, explains it best. You don't build an empire off a 1.4% cut of a 15-cent hamburger. You build it by owning the land on which that burger is cooked. In fact, the company retains about 82% of the revenue generated by its franchisees, while it only keeps about 16% from its company-operated locations, which are burdened with the costs of running those operations. In 2023 alone, the business earned $25.49 billion USD, but with the franchisees facing numerous other expenses like rent, payroll, advertising, promotions, operating supplies, insurance, and more, it was clear who was getting the better end of the deal. During the challenging days of the 2008 crisis, McDonald's wisely shifted its focus to leverage its real estate assets, capitalizing on a weakening property market to acquire even more land and buildings for its operations. It's clear that this plan is nothing short of brilliant. By collecting rental income, McDonald's protects itself against the inevitable ups and downs of the burger industry. After all, rent is unavoidable. McDonald's ownership of its restaurant's premises gives them major leverage for cost control and speedy expansion. Since when you operate thousands of outlets throughout the world, raising pricing isn't that challenging, since hungry customers will continue to flock to your burgers regardless. In 2021, McDonald's saw staggering revenues, pulling in $9.7 billion from its 7% company-operated stores. But the profit from those stores was nothing compared to the franchise-run locations, which generated a jaw-dropping $13 billion in revenue, yielding profits of $10.7 million with only $2.3 million in operation costs. The company is playing the long game in the real estate arena, and it's paying off in ways that will make your head spin, especially come tax time. Because the US tax code has some pretty sweet provisions for real estate investors and landlords. One of the major perks? Depreciation. Now, it's a bit of a head scratcher because while most things, like cars, lose value over time, real estate tends to appreciate. But the IRS lets property owners deduct depreciation from their taxable income, and this is where McDonald's wins out. Back in 2016, McDonald's reported a massive $1.39 billion in depreciation. While it's a bit murky how much of that was from the properties leased to franchisees, you can bet that they're milking this tax break for all it's worth. And with real estate values being on the rise over the past 20 years, the collateral value of McDonald's extensive property portfolio is climbing too. So why is that important? Well, when McDonald's needs to borrow money to expand or invest, they can do so at relatively cheap rates, thanks to the increased value of their properties. When you think of fast food giants like KFC, Burger King, and Hardee's, they definitely hold their own in the game. But when it comes to sheer dominance in the number of locations, no one can touch McDonald's. While those brands have carved out loyal followings, McDonald's is on an unstoppable expansion spree. But not everyone is on board with how McDonald's operates. A recent report by two powerful unions, Europe's EFFAT and America's SEIU, launched an investigation into McDonald's real estate practices. The report, titled McLandlord, Global Rent Excess at the World's Largest Franchisor, claims McDonald's corporate forces its franchisees into a system where they're overcharged for rent. According to the report, McDonald's charges franchisees anywhere from 8.5% to 15% of their sales in rent, while the average fast food franchisee only forks over 6% to 10%. Unions argue this isn't just squeezing the franchisees, it's creating a ripple effect that impacts everyone. If franchisees are stuck paying sky-high rent, that leaves them with less cash to raise wages for employees or cut prices for customers. It's a business model that has some serious critics. In recent years, activist investors have pressured the company to divest its property portfolio and shift its focus back to its food business. But McDonald's has stood firm, arguing that its real estate empire is crucial to its overall success. So next time you're biting into a Big Mac or enjoying those golden fries, remember, you're not just satisfying your fast food cravings, you're also backing one of the biggest real estate powerhouses in the world. What are your thoughts about the buzz around McDonald's real estate practices? Let us know in the comments below. And hey, if you like this deep dive into McDonald's business empire, don't forget to subscribe for more juicy insights. Until next time.